My name is Lindsay Aya, and I am the farm manager at Senior Services Plus. Today we are going to be practicing Yin Yoga. So first I want to just talk a little bit about Yin Yoga. It's very similar to restorative yoga, but it's also very different. So similarities, they're both a slow-paced, long hold kind of practice. So if you joined us, we did restorative yoga on Thursday night, and in restorative yoga you're trying to get to a place of Goldilocks comfort, supreme comfort as my mom calls it, so you really want to be comfortable. With Yin, you're actually going to your edge. You will feel discomfort, you just never want to be in pain. So go ahead and grab any props that you might want. Same for restorative. If you have the traditional yoga props, blocks, bolsters, whatever, grab them. If not, start grabbing pillows off of your couch, off of your bed, blankets. Towels are actually great because you can, throw in rubber bands, you can roll towels up into pretty much any shape, and it can be like a smaller bolster or neck roll or anything like that. So I've got these rubber bands here, and these rubber bands are going to help us kind of think about what we're doing today in our Yin practice. So 2 rubber bands that are identical, 2 rubber bands that are not quite identical. So Yin Yoga is about, we're lightly stressing the connective tissues. We're targeting connective tissues as opposed to muscles. So that's why we do it in the morning when our muscles are still cold. We haven't warmed up our body. That's very different than a lot of other practices. But what that's doing, so the yellow rubber band represents a muscle that's been warmed up, and then the pink represents your connective tissue. On this one, we've got pink over here is a muscle that hasn't been warmed up, and again, our connective tissue. So if I pull on this one, that yellow one just goes crazy, and that muscle gets all of the stretch, but the connective tissue isn't doing much. With this one, they're both getting kind of a pull. So that's the difference between warming up and not warming up. You can do Yin if you've warmed up, so if you guys have already started your daily activities, no worries. Go to your edge. Don't ever go to a place of pain though. So if in any of these poses you're like, wow, that hurts, back out of it, or find props to help support you so that you're not in pain. Yin Yoga is going to help you release synovial fluids and over time increase mobility. Hello everybody. So let's get started. Get started with either finding your Shavasana or a simple seated position where you can just check into this space. It's basically a grounding period. So we'll just be here for a few minutes, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, just coming into this space and saying, okay, I understand that I'm at home, I'm quarantined in my house, but I'm going to cultivate this unique space for me to practice yoga today. So, find your Shavasana or find your comfortable meditation position, whatever that is. Go ahead and take a deep breath, maybe even an audible exhale. And then after that, just let your breath be natural, normal, natural rhythm of breath. I want you to notice how your body meets the floor. If you're laying down, how does your body find support on the floor? How does your back meet the floor or any props that you've put around yourself? If you're sitting in a chair or on the floor, then consider how your spine is meeting, if you're in a chair, the back of the chair, how your bottom meets the earth or the bottom of the chair. Notice if you feel any tension anywhere. Start to notice if there's any other kind of senses that you can incorporate into this experience. As you're inhaling, are there any smells around you in the house? Maybe someone just cooked something. Maybe your dog is nearby. Can you hear any sounds? Somebody doing their office work in the next room. Birds chirping outside. We're not placing any judgment on anything that we notice, just a sense of playful, loving curiosity. What is going on today? What am I experiencing? And then expand that sense of curiosity into your breath. Start to notice the characteristics of your normal, natural rhythm of breathing. Is your breath smooth? Is it jagged? Shallow? Deep? Is the inhale cooler than the exhale, maybe? Notice if you're breathing out of your nose or your mouth, or both. Maybe you've got some spring allergies going on. Again, we're not placing any judgment on our experience. We're just noticing. Ah, allergies, old friend, I feel you. Okay. Notice where the breath expands in your body. The breath is really going to get us through this yin practice. That's something that I want you to remember, because this isn't about comfort, and it's not about, when we're doing a heated kind of fire building practice, it's a different kind of intensity. And this is about learning how to sit still with discomfort as it comes through your experience, be it in the body, in the mind, in the spirit. So just use the breath as we move into the actual shapes that we're going to take our body through. Use your breath to get through them, and remember that you don't ever want to be in a place of pain. So the first thing we're going to do is, if you're in Shavasana, gently start to roll on into a side child's pose and come up into a sitting position. If you're in a chair, go ahead and stay in a chair. If you're on the floor in a simple seated, go ahead and stay there too. We're going to be focusing on primarily shoulders today, and that's for a few reasons. One, because I think a lot of us are probably spending a fair amount of time on our phones, our computers, either working from home or trying to cope with present reality, which either one of those things are perfectly understandable, perfectly valid. Again, we're not placing any judgment, we're just noticing what we're doing, what our habits are becoming. And so the first thing we're going to do is, the other reason that I wanted to work on shoulders was because I've been doing a lot of farm chores, and some of those farm chores include shoveling and sledgehammering, and my shoulders are like, whoa! And if you were here for restorative, I also have a tendency to crouch my shoulders forward, so I'm always trying to bring them back and check them in. So now that you're in a comfortable sitting position, go ahead and check in with yourself and see, is my butt firmly rooted in the ground or the chair? Yes, I feel like both sitting bones are evenly connected with the earth. Is my spine long and strong? Totally. Awesome. I'm on point. I'm going to go ahead and just shrug my shoulders, just because I know that tendency I have to bring my shoulders forward. So now my shoulders are back. And then I'm going to place my hands on the floor. So the first thing that we're just going to do is, on an exhale, drop your ear to one side or the other. Spend about 3 deep breaths, or whatever a comfortable number is for you, just hanging out here. And then, when you're ready, gently lift your head up and drop your ear to the other side. And try to keep the length about even, unless you know that you need to change the length because maybe you hold more tension in one side of your neck than the other. And then respect that awareness. When you feel like you've gotten an even stretch on both sides, go ahead and lift your neck back up, and this time turn your head one way or the other, and then drop the chin down. So my chin is kind of headed towards my shoulder, but I'm not quite touching my shoulder. I'm trying to keep my shoulders back and relaxed too, instead of creeping forward as I'm doing this. So again, take a few breaths here. And when you're ready, lift your head back up. And don't bring it all the way back forward, just bring it in an inch. So my head was kind of over my shoulder, almost over my shoulder, and then I'm bringing it an inch back towards neutral, and then I'm going to drop it again. So now my chin is kind of in line with my chest instead of my shoulder. Go ahead and bring your head back up, and this time coming back to neutral. Just kind of notice how these different stretches in the neck feel. So turning the head again, well, not again, but this time to the other side, all the way over the shoulder, or closer to the shoulder, and then go ahead and drop your chin down. See, for me, I just felt there's a lot more tension in this side right here than there was on the other side, so that's just something I want to make note of. A few deep breaths here, and when you're ready, go ahead and bring the chin back up in just another inch, and then dropping it over the chest, dropping the head over the chest. And when you're ready, go ahead and lift it back up, coming back into neutral, and then just go ahead and drop it right there in neutral. And when you're ready, go ahead and bring the head back up. If you want to repeat any of those before we move on, feel free. If you're like, okay, that felt really good, I want to go there again, go ahead. The next thing we'll be doing is an eagle arm, so feel free to play around with the neck for a little bit. If you decide to do neck rolls, there's one thing that I want you to remember. You don't ever want to drop your neck back. So this, what I'm doing right here, I don't want to do that. I don't want to crunch my neck back. I want to create space in my neck. So if I decide to do a neck roll, when I go back, I am lifting up, I am not crunching. So see the difference between this and this. I don't want to be doing that in my neck roll. I want to keep a long, safe neck and spine. That's really important. So by any means, if you aren't a neck roll person, you don't have to, but I know that's something that I am often wanting to do after I do a little neck stretch, that I want to do a neck roll. So just to be aware of that for your own safety. And then when you feel like your neck is nice and stretched out, come back into a neutral sitting position, whether you're in a chair or on the floor. And then you're going to drop your arms by your sides, take a deep breath, inhale and exhale. Go ahead and switch your legs if you're sitting cross-legged, so that dominant leg is now behind instead of in front. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. And then I'm going to just lace my hands. So I like to open up like I'm pretending I'm an eagle, right? I just saw an eagle yesterday. It was gorgeous, guys. So I'm opening my arms up, and then for this one, I'm going to go right arm under, left arm, and then I'm lacing around. Now, if you can't lace all the way around, that's fine. Like, if this is as far as you can go, that's fine. If this is as far as you can go, that's excellent, whatever. Like, you know your body. Don't try to just look how I'm looking. That's not what you need to be doing. You need to be listening to yourself and feeling what feels like, okay, I've reached my edge. So for me, this is my edge. I don't want to go any deeper. I could kind of like compact myself up, but no, I'm going to try to just stay here. Try to get a little different angle so you can kind of see the level My elbows are kind of at my chest level, and I've made like an L shape with my arms. So we're just going to hold this here for a minute. If you need to back out at any point, feel free to back out. And again, this is where the breath really starts holding or getting us through this practice. Because this is a very intense shoulder opener. It's, wow, I need to breathe to get through that. Otherwise, I'm going to give up. So keep breathing. All right, release whenever you're ready. I like to kind of just move my shoulders around a little bit, again, like I'm an eagle, just because that is really intense, and that's something that's a shape that we don't really often hold with our bodies. So whenever, do whatever to feel good again, to feel like you've kind of unwound that tension. And then we're going to go for the other arm. So for that first one, let's see, what did I do? I went right arm under. So now I'm going to open my chest up again, and I'm going to go left arm under. And just notice if there's any differences on this side as opposed to the other side. Maybe this side, it's much easier for you to make that connection with your hands. Maybe on this side, there's no way you're making that connection with your hands. But on the other side, you could. Again, not placing any judgment on what your body is capable of doing today, yesterday, tomorrow. We're just approaching ourselves with that gentle sense of playful, loving curiosity. Imagine a puppy and how a puppy looks at the world, or how you look at a puppy. Oh my goodness, it's so adorable. Look what it's doing. It's trying to take care of itself. That's awesome. So give yourself that same sense. And whenever you're ready and you feel like you've gotten an even stretch on both sides, go ahead and unwind. And again, anything you need to do to kind of feel normal in the arms and the shoulders again, that's called your counter pose. So your counter pose is where, wow, I just held that for much longer than I would normally. How do I kind of reset myself? If at any point I'm not leaving you enough time for a counter pose, take that time. This is your practice, and you are the only one who really knows your body and really knows what you need. So now the next thing that we're going to do is child's pose. We're going to hold child's pose for probably close to 3 minutes. So you can set yourself up for wide leg or closed leg child's pose. You can use bolsters if you want. Remember, we are in yin yoga, so your goal is to get to your edge. You want to feel a little bit of discomfort, but you never want to feel pain. So I am going to set myself up for a closed leg child's pose, which means I'm just going to, like that, on my knees. I can pad my knees if I want. If you want a bolster, you can have a bolster. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit back on my feet, and I'm just going to walk my hands down until I find a comfortable spot on the floor. My hands can be in front of me, or I can take my hands back behind me. It's going to change the experience you have in your shoulders and your arms. So just remember, if we're focusing on our shoulders today, I'm going to try to get this down a little lower. If we're focusing on our shoulders today, then just know, like, if I don't have it in me to have my shoulders out like that in front of me for 2 to 3 minutes, then take them back behind me. And also know that you can come out of a pose or go deeper into a pose at any time. So say I'm in child's pose, closed-kneed or closed-legged for a minute, and I realize I think that I could be getting a more intense stretch. So maybe I decide that I'm going to transition into a wide leg, and then maybe I decide that I'm going to add a little bit of diversity, and I go prayer pose my hands. So what I just did was this, if you're... So go ahead and get into your child's pose. And now is when you really want to empower that breath to move you through this practice. So you found a shape in your body that is a little bit uncomfortable, but you are perfectly capable of sitting there with this discomfort. You are going to be creating space in your body. You're releasing synovial fluids, which will increase your mobility over time. I am proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself. Let your breath move you through any discomfort. So again, like we were doing in restorative, notice where the breath is going in child's pose. So our chest and our stomach, they're compressed by the floor. We're going to notice in the sides and the back of our body, we're going to be feeling that expansion. I would say that my breath is always audible to me when I'm doing a yin practice. And if I'm at home right now, so my yin practice this morning when I ran through this sequence, I could hear myself. If my mom would have been sitting on the couch right here next to me, she could have heard me breathing. So just be aware that you might sound silly sometimes, and that's okay. The breath is very, very powerful, and especially in yin, and especially in life. All right, we're about halfway through this hold, so reassess yourself. Do you feel like you could get a little bit deeper into this pose? Do you feel like you need to back out a little bit? Listen to your body. Honor yourself. All right, last few seconds here. So take a couple really deep breaths and start to tell the body that you're ready for movement. I'm about to move. So for me, that's mentally first. I'm going to say, okay, body, it's been nice staying here. We're about to get up. Once you're ready, go ahead and you want to just gently start to walk your hands back up, and you're going to push yourself back up into a seated position. And then we're going to transform into caterpillars, transition into caterpillar pose. So caterpillar pose is just going to be, I'm sitting on my butt. That's where I sit. I've got my legs out in front of me, and I'm going to possibly want props here, maybe not. So go ahead and grab one of those big fluffy pillows. Now remember that we're getting uncomfortable here. There's a little bit of discomfort. So you don't necessarily need to build yourself up the same way you did in restorative, but you don't ever want pain. So for me, maybe I can, I'm going down with my chest pointing forward. Maybe that's comfortable, maybe it's not. Maybe I went down and I found some pain and I decide I want to put a bolster or a pillow right here in front of me. So figure out what you need. If you get there and you're like, nope, this isn't for me, then adjust. I could build a million pillows up if I really need to. We're not placing any judgment on what we're able to do today in this moment or any day. So again, I'm checking in. Is my butt firmly planted into the ground? It is. Does my spine feel long and strong? It does. Excellent. How about those shoulders? I'm going to give them a shrug back just because I know myself. And then I'm going to start coming forward, walking my hands. My chest is pointed forward until I reach my edge. I feel that first tug, like, okay, if I go any further, this might be painful. I'm not going to go any further. I'm just going to round out right here until I find a nice, kind of comfortable place to lay. So again here, use your breath to move through this. Notice where you feel the tension. See if you can release any of that tension, using the breath to move through anywhere that you feel kind of stuck in your body. So for me, I feel this pull in my mid to lower back, a little bit in my hamstrings, but it's really more in my spine. So I'm going to kind of try to consciously breathe in a way that lets me expand that area that I'm feeling tension, that lets me work through that tension in a way that's productive, but not painful. So go ahead and identify, how does your body feel right now? Where are you feeling this? Can you use the breath to work through anywhere that you're feeling tension? I want to introduce you to another concept. So while we are meditating or practicing yoga or going through our daily life, there are three things that might take you out of the present moment. And those are your thoughts, your emotions, and your bodily sensations. So again, playful, loving curiosity, none of these things are bad. It's great to have thoughts, it's great to have emotions, it's great to have bodily sensations. We're human beings, we need them. But just start to notice, as you're going through life, where, maybe I'm perfectly happy taking a walk and then all of a sudden I'm hungry and I forgot to get my groceries, or I forgot to put dinner on the stove, and now I've got thoughts and I'm mad at myself because I forgot to do something, and maybe then I trip because I'm angry, and now I've got a bodily sensation of a sprained ankle, and now I'm just a mess, right? So in my meditation practice, in my yoga practice, I'm going to notice things coming up. So right now, you might be thinking about stuff you need to do later. You might have an emotion about something that happened earlier. The only one that we really need to kind of set aside is the bodily sensations. You might have a bodily sensation that says, oh, this is uncomfortable. Well, that's fine. But if the bodily sensation says, this is painful, then go ahead and back out. But just being aware, those thoughts, those emotions, and those bodily sensations can all take you out of the present moment. And they're just something, it's like a dinner guest. They come and go. Hello, old friend, anxiety. Okay, good to see you again. I know you're here to inform me of something, and then you're going to be on your way. Goodbye. Hasta la vista. So just be aware that those are the things that might come up. We're going to go ahead and transition out of caterpillar pose. So when you're ready, and again, you can stay here for as long as you like. You don't have to come out just because I said to. But when you're ready, you're going to go ahead and start to walk your hands back up. And if you want, you can do a counter pose that is just, I'm putting my hands behind me. My hands are kind of flat on the ground like that. I'm lifting my chest up to the sky. And whatever else you want to do. Any kind of counter pose. So the next thing that we're going to be doing is camel. And that's actually a pretty intense, it's really intense, let's not lie. Camel is an intense one. We won't be here for that long, but you might want to consider a few things. So one thing you might want to consider is padding your knees. Even if you don't have a knee issue, but if you have a knee issue, you should definitely pad your knees for this and a lot of other poses. If you don't have a knee issue, one great way to prevent ever having one is padding the knees in situations like this. So if you don't have a towel or something to pad the knees with, go ahead and grab one, a blanket, whatever works. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, I'm on my knees like I'm about ready to go into a table or child's pose if I were to sit back. But I'm lined up so that my hips are directly over my knees and my shoulders are directly over my hips. And then the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just put my hands right here on my lower back, and I'm going to bend I'm just arching a little bit. My hips are still staying directly over my knees. And you can stay here. You can stay here the entire time if you want. And if this is too intense, you can come out by just a little tiny bend, or say, you know what, I'll skip this one and go to the next one. We won't be here for long. So we can do a little bend, we can do a more intense bend. If you feel like it, you can start to reach back. And here we are in the full expression of this pose. It's a lot harder for me to keep my hips directly over my knees like that. I've got to be more mindful of it. So just being aware. And if you decide this is too much, I need to come out of this, you go ahead and start to support that lower back again, and you use your abdominal muscles to help bring you back up. So we'll only be here for maybe a minute, 30 more seconds. If this pose isn't for you, no worries. Just hang out until we get to the next one. This is a very intense pose though, so use the breath to move through this pose. Notice where you feel tension. I'm generally feeling it in my hips, the front of my hips, and a little tiny bit in my shoulders here. So allow the breath to move through you. I didn't even take a drink. I just grabbed my coffee and didn't take a drink, folks. All right. Whenever you're ready, you're going to, again, very mindfully start to bring your support back into the back, use your abs, and start to come out of it. You want to be really safe there, so that's why we're supporting the lower back with our hands and engaging our abs and using them to change the shape of the body here. So the next one we've got is another really intense one. This one is called Melting Heart, and this is the epitome of what a shoulder practice means to me. So Melting Heart, again, is one that we're going to pad the knees for. And if you have any spinal issues, this might not be one, but this one and the last one might not be ones that you choose to do, that's fine. If you decide not to do Melting Heart, I would advise you to go back into a child's pose and maybe switch it up a little bit from how you had it earlier. So Melting Heart, I am going to, once again, I've got my knees my hips directly above my knees. I've got a little bit of space in between my legs here just for balance. I need to check in with my shoulders because I just felt them creeping forward. And then what I'm doing, I'm trying to give myself enough room so I can, or you can see me. What I'm doing is I'm going to come down into a tabletop, and then I'm going to start walking myself forward until I find a way that my heart can, I'm talking into the floor, folks. So my heart is melting into the floor, literally. So if you need a prop under your chest, you're more than welcome to grab a prop under your chest to make it a little bit easier for heart to meet the floor. One thing to keep in mind here is as you're melting, you want your hips and knees to still be in alignment. You don't want to melt into the floor and then throw everything else out of alignment. So a mirror can help, but just try to feel how, does it feel like my hips just crept over my knees or back the other way, or do I feel like I'm pretty even on that? So again, this is another one that we really want to use the breath to move us through, and what I did one more time, my knees are directly under my hips. I'm going to come into my tabletop, and then I'm going to start walking my hands forward like I'm going into a child's pose, but my butt is staying up in the air. Now, my arms are out in front of me, but if that gets too intense, having my arms out in front of me, I can do something like that. I can do one arm and then the other arm. So play around with how your arms feel. Know that this is a really intense shoulder stretch, and breathe into your shoulders. This is one of those shapes that it's just really, really intense, and I get a lot of emotions, a lot of kind of, grief, I think. Maybe grief is the emotion that's trapped in my shoulders. I'm not sure, but just kind of notice how it feels. Maybe you get angry when you're feeling that kind of tension in your body, but we're not placing any judgment on what emotions come up, just notice. All right, we are coming to the end of this pose, so how we're going to safely get out of this. Actually, my favorite way to get out of this is really easy. It's just to start moving myself back. I'm inching myself back with my fingers until I've come into a child's pose. And if you want, you can hang out in child's pose and bring your shoulders back, so my arms are back now, and my hands are towards my feet. And that just kind of lets your shoulders relax. But any counter pose, you might want to just lay on the ground after that. You're like, wow, that was intense. Let me just Shavasana out for a second. Crocodile is another one where you're laying on your belly and your hands are like that. I think maybe Shavasana would be my go-to right now after Melting Heart, but just take a few moments to have a counter pose, unwind that stretch that we just created in our body, release any tension that you might have in your shoulders or anywhere in your body. And when you're ready, you're going to come back into a simple seated pose. Now we're going to walk through the things that we did in the very beginning of our practice one more time. We might add a few things into that, but I want you to just feel if there's any difference between having a little bit of movement, doing a few things, a few long holds, and when we first started this morning. So if you want to be in a chair, you're more than welcome to be in a chair. Find a comfortable sitting position. Let's go ahead and just uncross and recross on the less dominant side, so however you had your legs crossed, if it's comfortable and available to you. If it's not available, that's fine. So I'm uncrossing and recrossing. It's a little bit less comfortable, and actually there's other options for the way that the legs are. If you wanted to do a fire log where your knees and feet were stacked, so I've got my right knee and I'm holding my foot. My right foot is on top of my left knee and my left knee is on top of my right foot. I have a little bit of space in between there, so I'm going to go ahead and pillow up so that I'm not feeling any extreme discomfort or pain, just a little bit of discomfort. Just play around with it. If there's a different sitting position that you would rather be in other than a simple seated, go ahead. And then check in with your spine, with your sitting bones. Does everything feel long and strong? Yes, okay, cool. Drop the ear to one side or the other. Notice if it feels any different than the first time. Notice where you feel the tension, where you feel the pull. Feel free to play with the angle of your chin. So like, maybe my chin wants to point up a little bit, maybe it wants to point down a little bit. So just notice what feels good to you. When you're ready, go ahead and inhale the head up, exhale it to the other side. Also notice if it feels any different to breathe through this much less intense pose now that we've done some more intense poses. All right, go ahead and lift the head back up on an inhale. Exhale, twisting the head so that I'm looking over either shoulder, whichever one you're going for. I just went for my right shoulder. And then drop the chin down towards the shoulder. Spend a few minutes breathing here. When you're ready, lift your head back up. Go in just an inch, so now I'm in line with my chest, and I'm going to drop my chin over my chest. Go ahead and lift the head back up, turning all the way back to neutral and then to the other side. So now my head is, or my chin is towards my left shoulder, and I'm going to drop it down. Using that breath to create space in my neck. On an inhale, I'm going to lift my head back up, bring it in just an inch, drop it down so that my chin is over my chest. I'm going to use my breath to really create space in my body. And when you're ready, go ahead and lift your head up, take it into neutral, drop the head down in neutral. Take a few breaths here. And go ahead and lift the head up. All right. Did it feel any different? Maybe, maybe not. So we've got a couple more poses. Let's go ahead and grab either a bolster if you have one, and if you don't, grab a couple cushions or bedroom pillows and build a nice little comfortable place. We did this pose in restorative. We're going to do reclined bound angle. You can also do a reclined, I think it's called rest pose, something like that. But basically, reclined bound angle, I've got my feet together, my knees out, so reclined butterfly is another word for this. But you don't have to have your feet together like that. I could extend my feet forward if you've had enough on your hips for today and just feel like having your feet forward. So I'm going to, for me, put my feet together so I'm in butterfly. I just wiggled back and forth, and that was just to try to ground myself a little bit, make sure that I've got an even sitting platform. And then if you want to put any props under your legs, you're more than welcome to. In restorative, I always suggest that you do because I'm trying to get you to a really comfortable place. But for yin, you're on your edge. You're trying to find that edge, and you're trying to work through that edge. So if you don't want props under your knees, you're more than welcome to not have them. And then I've got my bolster or my pillows behind me. Once I feel like, okay, I have a very strong platform, I feel like everything is evenly planted into the ground, my spine is long, my shoulders are back, I'm going to start walking myself back until I have a comfortable or kind of discomfortable position or uncomfortable position. But the main thing here is I want you to feel it in your shoulders. I want you to have that chest opener. So as you're back here, either open your arms up in a T or go ahead into cactus arms. So if your arms are in a T, then you're going to look like this, spread out over the bolster. If you're in cactus arms, you're going to look like this. If this is too intense, you don't have to have your arms. You can, have them on your belly. You can have them down by your sides. But if you want to really feel this in your shoulders and in your chest to get that opening in the front of your body, then go ahead and either have your arms in a T shape or in cactus arms. And now, as you're breathing here, we'll do probably a 3-minute hold here. So it's a little bit longer, but that gives you an opportunity to really see how your body moves through time, kind of. So we're here. I feel a little bit of discomfort in my chest as my chest is opening up. Nowhere should I feel pain in my body. Everywhere feels all right. No pain, but definitely discomfort. See if you can bring the breath into the body in a way that kind of moves the chest. So if each time I inhale, I'm creating a little bit of space in my chest. I'm releasing a little bit more tension on each inhale, each exhale. So think about it like that even. Inhaling, creating space. Exhaling, releasing tension. Inhaling, creating space. Exhaling, releasing tension. This practice of yin is so important, not just physically because we're releasing synovial fluids, we're creating space in the body, and we're developing patterns that will allow us to be more mobile for longer, which is really important. We all want to stay mobile. But it's also important because of things like what's going on now in the world. Think about if I can sit with discomfort on a mental level, what that means. It means that I can better adapt when uncomfortable things happen. So quarantining definitely isn't comfortable. It's not fun to be locked up, to not be allowed to hug your loved ones. It really sucks. Feeling uncertain really sucks. It's not fun. But if you can do it physically, if you can sit there physically with that sense of discomfort, you can also sit there emotionally with that sense of discomfort. It's a really important practice, not just in times like this all the time, but especially in times like this. Start to notice the qualities of your breath once again. This pose is a little bit simpler, so it's a little bit easier to kind of think about other things besides just getting through this moment. So start to notice the qualities of your breath. Are you breathing deeply? Shallow breaths? Notice the temperature of the air as you're breathing. Notice the length of your breath. Is your inhale longer than your exhale, or vice versa? All right. Whenever you're ready, and not a moment sooner, you can stay here as long as you like. The next thing that we're going to be doing is a twist, and that will be our final shape before we take our final Shavasana. So this twist is a little bit different than most twists, but every twist is a little bit different, right? So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be laying on our side of our body in a tabletop position. So I'm inside child's pose essentially, but I've got my arms out in front of me. See how my arms are out in front of me and my knees are bent but also out in front of me. So I am in essentially a side table pose. And my hands have met. They're like this, but they're on the ground. And then what I'm going to be doing is on an inhale, I'm going to be opening up, letting that hand go up towards the ceiling before it meets the floor on the other side. Now my chest just opened up, so I'm getting this stretch in a little bit different way, because usually when we're in a twist, we're moving our knees or we're moving our legs. But this time I'm opening up by moving my arms, by moving my upper body. So again, letting the breath move you through this. Noticing exactly how your body feels in this shape. Where do you feel the support of the floor? Where do you feel the stretch? Where do you feel discomfort? And how is the breath helping you work through that discomfort? For me, yin is just such an intense practice, and I don't know if it is quite as intense for everyone. I think that it is, but I know a lot of people that I talk to think that yin is a very intense practice, and it's strange because it's a slow practice. It's a long hold practice. It's not a vigorous heat building practice. But for me, it's just so intense because I'm really getting into that long lived, deep seated tension that I have built up in my body over time. And it's focusing on the connective tissues instead of the muscles. So for me, yin is just such an intense practice. And after I've been holding a pose for a moment, my breath just becomes so audible and so intense. And I'm really like, each exhale is like I'm trying to let go of something because I know there's something I need to let go of. So I just want to let you know, if you're sitting at home in this pose going, it's okay. It's a really intense practice. And I know that it doesn't feel like your stereotypical intense yoga practice where we're building heat. But it is. So if you're practicing at home after this class or next week with us, just know that you might make some funny noises. You might cry even. Sometimes I cry. I almost always cry in a yin yoga practice. Almost always. Just because there's so much tension that I need to release, and I'm so grateful when I finally do release it. All right. So when you're ready, what you're going to do, you're in your twist. You're going to inhale and bring that arm back up until it meets your hand that's laying on the floor on the other side. And then when you're ready, you're going to push yourself up. You're going to go ahead and switch sides, and you're going to find that side table laying down on this side, and then you're going to do the exact same thing. I'm trying to get my anatomy lined up so that everything feels like if I were having to support my full body weight in a table pose, that I would be in alignment. My hands are once again that cute little sandwich. And then on an inhale, I'm going to start lifting my arm up, and then on an exhale, I'm going to let it drop as my chest opens up. So again, just notice how this feels. Notice if it feels any different on this side as opposed to the other side. So once again, you are the only person who knows what you do on a daily basis. You are the only person who knows, have you been on your computer? Have you been doing 5Ks? What have you been doing? So just be aware of how this and every other thing that you do feels in your body, and know that you are the only person who's really an expert in you. So if at any point any teacher tells you to do something and it doesn't feel comfortable, don't do it. If I'm telling you to go into a pose and you know that it's not right for you, then respect yourself. Even if we have the opportunity to sit down one-on-one or in a group and meet in person, which I would love that. I hope that we all get to meet in person. Don't worry about not doing what I say. Worry about honoring yourself and taking care of yourself and doing what you need to do for your body. All right, we're coming to the end of this. We've got just a few moments left, so go ahead and just see. In these few moments, can you breathe a little bit deeper? Can you create a little bit more space in the body? And when you're ready, and not a moment sooner, if you need to stay here longer or go back to the other side, that's fine. Remember, listen to yourself. But when you're ready, go ahead and inhale, bringing the arm back up. Exhale as it starts to fall into the other side, and let it meet your hands. They're sandwiched again. And then when you're ready, go ahead and push yourself up. Now, if there's anything else you want to do before you go into Shavasana, anything at all, feel free. So now your yin practice is done and your day can begin. So if you want to do a little bit of downward dog or something more active, feel free. We didn't warm up before our practice, but if before your Shavasana you're like, dude, I need some movement, go ahead, give yourself that gentle movement. And then whenever you're ready, you'll find your Shavasana. That can be with however many props you want. You could have, I'm looking for props around me. You could have a pillow under the back of your head. You could have that whole pillow kind of like a bolster, just like a bolster. So like we had in our reclined bound angle, you could go into it like that, and this can be your Shavasana. So Shavasana is just that last pose where we really integrate everything that we were doing. It's where we let our body unwind and we say, okay, we've had some action. That was some serious movement. We took some intense shapes. We used our breath to get through it. Let's integrate and figure out what this means in our body. So it's just a moment of stillness to integrate. So set yourself up for your Shavasana however you need it, with props wherever you need. And get comfortable. In this one, there's no discomfort. Shavasana, no discomfort. Complete and total comfort. All right. Now that you are in your Shavasana, let's see. I want to tell you a little story. So imagine that you are walking through some place that makes you feel at home, that makes you feel safe and comfortable. So for me, it's a woodland. So that's the example I'm going to give. But as I'm saying, the woods, maybe for you it's a prairie. Maybe for you it's your grandma's backyard. Whatever it is, just consider a place that makes you feel at peace. So imagine that you're walking through this place. And again, for me it's the woods, so that's how I'm going to tell the story. So I'm imagining I'm walking through the woods. I'm surrounded by old growth trees, oaks and hickories. It's springtime, and the spring ephemerals are in full bloom. The woods is littered with bluebells, trillium, spring beauty, Jack in the pulpit. Wow. What a beautiful place to be. I look around and I feel so at peace. I decide that I'm going to take a nap by the roots of a very, very old bur oak tree. This tree is so big around that it would probably take 10 of me to hug it. I don't know that I could ever reach the top canopy of her branches. There are ferns all around her roots and moss, and that's why I choose this spot to lay. So I lay on this wonderful mossy bed. And I feel completely at peace. Now, when I wake up, I'm not on the mossy bed anymore. I'm going downstream on what looks to be a small river. I can't figure out how I got here, but I'm on this kind of raft of debris and just floating. And I look around and I think, well, this is a strange situation. I wonder how I got myself here. And I look around and I see the very top of that tall bur oak tree, the one I was sleeping under. I can tell that's her in the distance. And I shout to the tree, "My friend, the tree, can you help me? I seem to be floating down this river, and I can't find out how I got here, and I don't know how to get out of here." And the tree looks at me, she hears my call, and she said, "Well, of course, friend. That's the river of thought. And you're flowing on this river of thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations. But don't worry. it's kind of just an illusion. And I'm not sure what she's talking about at this point, but I'm glad that the tree is here to help. So I say, Tree, what do you mean? I don't understand. And she says, well, all of the things beneath you are your thoughts, your emotions, and your bodily sensations. And you're floating downstream and you have no idea how to get off. What I want you to do is to just roll off that mat and stand up. And I said, oh goodness, no, I can't do that, Tree. No, this water is too deep, I cannot do that. She said, very well, if you don't, you'll keep going. So finally I got up the courage to roll off of my mat. And I stood up. And the water was only ankle deep. And the river, just as she had said, it was an illusion. It was just a puddle. And all of those thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations that I had been flowing on, they vanished right before my eyes. And I walked back to my friend the tree, and I said, thank you, tree. Thank you for grounding me here in this place of stability. So anytime that you're walking through your day, I want you to just consider wherever your happy place is, and whatever features of that happy place could serve as a reminder, as the great oak tree serves for me, that my thoughts, my emotions, my bodily sensations are part of my life, they're part of my experience, but they're not the entirety of it, and they don't have to control me. So take a few moments in your Shavasana, or if you're in a simple seated, or however, maybe you're watching from the couch. Take a few more moments here, just breathing. Give yourself thanks for being here today. So on an inhale, I say, thank you, self. And on an exhale, I release anything holding me back from having a wonderful day today. Inhaling gratitude, exhaling release. Whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and push yourself up into a simple seated. You can actually, I really like to roll onto my side into a side child's pose. I love the side child's pose before I get up. So take however long you want to take right now to get up and to start your day again. I know we've got a lot of awesome things on the agenda here at SSP Wellness Center. So enjoy if you're going to come to any of the other workouts later today or this week. And have a wonderful day, my friends. I will see you again soon, Tuesday and Thursday. Take care. Thanks for joining us.